Well, it doesn't seem like it took very long before Microsoft got in front of the FTC, and this time it comes from a strange place, a gaming place, and that's why we're covering it on That Game Place. Hi folks, it's CC here once again with my pal Nolan Thunder. Nolan, how's it going?
I'm feeling so excited right now. Are you as excited as I am to give Microsoft more of your money?
No, and actually somebody decided, hey, maybe the government should look at this, so we have the Federal Trade Commission. Yes, they're actually accusing Xbox of inflicting harm, consumer harm, and product degradation after a massive price increase to Game Pass. Now, we saw this coming a few weeks ago. Do you remember when the story broke?
Well, this whole harm thing isn't anything new because they've been harming me since about the late 360 era. So I can't remember the initial breakthrough, but this is pretty on point with their trends of the past few years.
Well, we recently discovered that the Game Pass was going to go up substantially in price. And so the Federal Trade Commission is accusing Xbox Studios, Activision, and their parent company, Microsoft, of consumer harm and product degradation after the company jacked up prices for its Game Pass service. And they announced that, they weren't going to keep the Xbox Game Pass for console anymore, which would cause, a lot of people to spend a lot more money. See, earlier this month, Microsoft announced its changes to Game Pass and revealed that in the United States, the price for Game Pass Ultimate increased from $16.99 to $19.99. That's a 17% price increase. The company
Yikes.
and the company also revealed the yearly subscription for Game Pass Core increased from $59 to $74.99, basically from $60 to $75, which is a 25% increase. Now,
this might be a little bit of a hot take, but am I the only one who sees $75 and I'm like, that's a lot of money? There's some people out there who are cool with games going up to $70 as the industry normal because of times changing. But I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I see $75 and I'm like, ow, that hurts. That hurts me inside.
Well, and I think that's the whole point. I think that's why the FTC is getting involved here, because this is exactly what you're always afraid of when you allow a big company to buy another big company and then spread the pain to consumers because there's less competition. So all those prices are already in effect. They went in effect on July 10th of 2024. So for those with a recurring subscription, the price will change beginning September 12th of 2024. So there isn't a lot of time there before this adjusts to people who have, a regular subscription cycle.
It's so sudden. It reminds me how, I don't know if anyone watching remembers this culture. Do you remember how a few months ago, YouTube Premium bumped up its price by a few dollars, and at literally the same time, Spotify did the same thing with their premium service? There's a lot of factors that kind of snowball here.
Well, actually, and again, it's all this is about for all of these giant entities that have taken over everybody else that used to be the competition. They're actually price gouging the consumer now because of their ability in the market to do so. So your observation is accurate, but it looks like Xbox is preparing to phase out Xbox Game Pass for console because of the way these announcements were done. However, it is noted that currently subscribed members will still have access to that particular service and will be able to continue to enjoy their membership. This is contingent on members staying subscribed to that membership, and Xbox noted if at any time you turn off your automatic payment renewal and your membership lapses, you will no longer have access to Game Pass for console and will need to join one of the other plans we offer for Game Pass. So basically, they are going to phase it out, and they're going to try to get rid of it. But here's what happened and how everybody reacted, and you look at just what every one of these things actually entails when it comes to the difference between Xbox Game Pass Core and Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, and of course, the middle level there. They're really getting rid of day one releases for all but the top tier, amongst many other things, and a reduction in the total number of high quality games that'll be available for everybody but that most expensive tier.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense because you think about it, if they've been having companies that have been releasing games that have been successful and they're still shutting these companies down, it probably means that these day one releases are not profitable at all. And honestly, I think that makes sense because if you put all this money into like a big budget game and you're basically giving it for free on day one, I don't see how that's going to work in the long run. Personally, I'm not a business expert.
Well, actually, they are offering less. They're offering far less when it comes to that, and they're really trying to assume that everybody is going to play those big titles, and those are going to be the things that draw you to that top tier. I would have to agree that's certainly what one of the major appeals is for that. But at the rate that games are being released now, other than mid-level and lower level games, the AAA game titles are not releasing all that often. So it really, the value has been entirely stripped out of the entire product. But we need to dive into what the reaction is from the FTC. So they sent a letter to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit and essentially blasted Microsoft for all these changes. The letter states that the Federal Trade Commission writes to alert the court to Microsoft's announced price increases in the multi-game subscription and cloud gaming markets, which the district court found relevant to the merger analysis. Well, I bet they did. Microsoft is raising the price for its Game Pass Ultimate product from $16.99 to $19.99, as we told you earlier. And it continues. Additionally, Microsoft is discontinuing its $11 a month console Game Pass product. Users of that product must pay 81% more to switch to Game Pass Ultimate. For consumers unwilling to pay 81% more, Microsoft is introducing a degraded product, which I agree with, Game Pass Standard for $15 a month. This product costs 36% more than the console Game Pass and withholds day one releases. Product degradation, removing the most valuable games from Microsoft's new service, which we just talked about, combined with price increases for existing users, is exactly the sort of consumer harm from the merger the FTC has alleged. Now, this was a concern going in. Microsoft had acquired so many different studios that were making these big games that people were going to want to play, and essentially then, well, sort of, cut out a bunch of jobs. They've cut out a lot of value, and now they're increasing the prices on consumers. So this is the biggest problem with these kinds of mergers that eliminate competition. So from the letter, we'll continue. Microsoft's price increases and product degradation, combined with Microsoft's reduced investments in output and product quality via employee layoffs, are the hallmarks of a firm exercising market power post-merger. Yikes. Basically saying, we told you so. Now, it then declared that, importantly, Microsoft actions are inconsistent with Microsoft's representations below. Microsoft price increases coincide with adding Call of Duty to Game Pass's most expensive tier, and discontinuing the console tier will happen shortly before releasing Call of Duty's newest game. Below, Microsoft promised that the acquisition would benefit customers by making Call of Duty available on Microsoft's Game Pass on the day it's released on console, with no price increase for the service based on the acquisition. It was a lie, a huge one. And this actually is going to be the downfall and maybe the reversal of this merger. Go ahead.
Has there been a single good Xbox headline in the past year? Like, everything has just been going south. You've had all these rumors about, there was like literally an event that was like a few months ago where people were speculating that they were going to announce that they were going to drop out of the console war. We have all this stuff about the Game Passes system changing, the layoffs going on, the studios being shut down. And you were talking about, key point there, about value, the value of the consumer, like when they're getting their Call of Duty. Value from a video game company comes from game sales. And the reality is they are not pushing enough units in order to justify everything they have. They have way too big expectations. That's why they acquire all these studios. And then they're basically either A, taking them out of the picture, or B, they think they're going to do great things with them and it completely implodes on itself. So what I need to see a headline of some sort to where it's their job as a video game company to figure out, like, hey, we had some bad misfires here, but for all of our investors or whoever, this is where we're going to go in order to bring the value back. And I just don't know all they're showing right now is defense mode with the economy and everything like that. And just bringing less value and charging your consumers more. Is there any product on this planet that strategy is going to work for? They need to do something to get some sort of attention back on them. But every attention piece they've been grabbing is negative. And now, when you have possibly the government getting involved, now they've threatened to get involved before. It's happened many times. A lot of the times, except for like the ratings fiasco back in the 90s, they usually don't seem to get too involved. But it's just another hit on their reputation of a once great company. I don't like where they're going at all. And if your routine rumor is that you're leaving, don't go the way of Sega with Microsoft. Like, that's a bad water to be in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And here's the last thing, probably the most critical element of this, and it speaks to what you were just talking about. But Microsoft's post-merger actions thus vindicate the congressional design of preliminary halting mergers to fully evaluate their likely competitive effects and judicial skepticism of promises inconsistent with a firm's economic incentives. Now, let me tell you something. That's a fancy way of saying, we told you so. Microsoft ended up lying, and our actual, acceptance of this merger as something that could occur was done on false premises, and we need to fix it. I have a strong feeling that a lot of companies are about to have themselves unwound and split off into multiple entities. Yeah, exactly. What do you think, Nolan, as we wrap this up?
Well, I think a lot of these companies, you're either going to see them ending up like Toys for Bob, where they're going to go independent, instead working with companies such as Xbox, to publish their games. Or B, it's going to go the route of a lot of those companies from a few months ago where they're just going to be shut down, period.
Right.
Microsoft doesn't really hold back on that. I'm impressed that Rare has lasted as long as they have once they acquired them back in like 01. I think it was 2001 when they acquired Rare. And it's not the greatest time to be a video game company. And honestly, if you can sustain yourself, I would try to go as independent as you can right now if you can sustain, because they're going to look at their chopping block and see what's the best thing we can do to save our brand and our jobs. And the little studio probably isn't going to be the first priority on their list. And as we've seen, you can do really well and still get out because of the bad decisions regarding Game Pass.
Right. Yeah. And at the same time, and I think we need to throw this to the audience, do you think that it's possible that this overstep or this increase in prices is actually going to lead to a breakup of Microsoft's monopoly when it comes to major game studios? Do you think that this is just more saber rattling on the part of the FTC and the government when it comes to regulating these things? Or do you think that this will just, melt away and Microsoft will go on as business as normal and eliminate the smaller studios, as Nolan Thunder just suggested? I think it's a mix of all three. What do you think? Let us know down in the comments section below. And as always, game on.